that they
Sure.
probably didn't think of. So I think just being able to really realize what your potential is when you have to start thinking outside the box to entertain each other, to give each other space. And, on a spiritual level, I say that this is um, one of those be careful what you ask for, because we've had how many times we've heard people say, oh, I wish I didn't have to go to work today. I wish I could spend more time
Yeah.
with my kids. They're asking all those questions, and now you have it. And what are you doing with that time? So I believe on a spiritual level, we do get what we ask for. The challenge that we get when we do get it is that it didn't come packaged the way we imagined the
Right.
request to be received.
Right. Right. Isn't that interesting? And that's
Mm-hmm.
that challenge. That's kind of how we'll sort of take this now into our own hands and translate it into something, some kind of leadership, something that we could do some good with in this world. So I'm happy to have you
Absolutely.
here. Yeah.
Thank you.
See Keith on here. Hey, Keith.
Hey, George, can
What's
you hear
happening,
me?
buddy? Yeah, I could hear you, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing some exercise and stuff, getting ready for the 12 o'clock call. So I'm going to keep the video off.
Do your thing, buddy.
Not wearing much clothes.
Do your thing, buddy.
Hi, everybody.
Great. Hello. We'll just wait another 2 minutes to see who's going to hop on. I think a lot of people are actually catching this on the replay. So, we'll get going in another 2 minutes. Tanya, how did you hear about the leadership experience?
Off of, I think it was IAOTP.
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Very good. And then Keith, I know from Keith is on one of my other coaching cohorts, the Joy Revolution. So,
is it just the two of us, Tanya and I?
For now, we're going to wait just another minute or so to see who else hops on. I have a laundry list of people that told me that they have to catch this on the replay. This was actually, I was shooting for 12 originally. I think that was a better time, but as you know, Keith, we have a 12 o'clock meeting for the Joy Rev, and I completely forgot to put that on my calendar, so I had to change it.
You're a wanted man, George. You're a wanted man.
I'm trying.
You're doing it.
All right, so I think I'll get started here. Put us in gallery view. Okay. All right, guys. So thank you for joining me today. I'm going to give you a little bit of background. Those who know me, again, we have people watching on the replay, so I just want to give everybody the opportunity to get to know who we are. In case you don't know me, I'm George Andriopoulos. I'm the CEO and founder of Launchpad 516, which is a management consulting firm. And we basically, the core business of my company is that we fix broken businesses. And we have done that for years through our leadership training and mentorship, through strategy, through a number of things that we deem important in terms of how a person should operate on a daily basis. So we basically are a unique consulting firm because we base everything we do around the people around us, right? The people are the stars of what we do. And so because of that, I think we get unique results in that there is a lot more investment, emotional investment in the work that people do because of the way we go about sparking leadership and sparking growth in individuals and companies we consult for. And so that's my core business. Besides that, I am a keynote speaker. I'm a 2-time TEDx speaker. I am the executive producer of TEDx Farmingdale, co-founder of Shannon's Fight, a 501c3 nonprofit that aids families in medical crisis, and the current vice president. I'm on the Speakers Bureau of the Ronald McDonald House, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I'm also the speaking and writing coach on the Joy Revolution. So that's my little mini resume there. I'm also a proud husband and father of 2, soon to be 3, which I'm very excited about. Now, the leadership experience, what is this? So in the last couple of years, as my public speaking has moved from just the keynote stage to some of the more personal stages, the TEDx stages, the Speakers Who Dare stages, things of that manner, I've really found that there are a lot of people out there in terms of, my audience on these stages, and other speakers and coaches that I've come across that are in, I don't want to say in need. They are longing for some guidance in terms of leadership in the right way. I think we are fundamentally right now in a time where leadership is key to us moving forward as human beings. Just standing up and saying, "I'll do it. I'll be the one uh, that stands up and will stand for what I believe in, for those that I believe in." And so, I have sort of built my public speaking around that leadership theme, although I tell personal stories of how my leadership came about. um, my personal leadership came about in a unique way. I had a transformation over the last 10 years that was pretty unique, and I think it's unique to me, but I think we have all gone on these incredible journeys that really speak to our character and our resilience. Uh, 10 years ago, I was a guy that I just wasn't proud of, um, in the business world, in my personal life. And so when I had to sort of start over with nothing and build my life back up again, uh, I decided to stand up and be the man that I always knew that I could be, the man that I thought I was, but I wasn't. Um, and through that journey, through finding who I truly was again, my authentic self, through rebuilding my interpersonal relationships, through becoming the best father that I can possibly be to my kids, and finding a partner in life that um, supports me and that I support her, and that really cares about the leadership that I put out there. I think through these journeys, they are what led me to what I do today for a living. And I don't want to say I'm a management consultant or a CEO or a speaker. I'm none of those things. I'm more all of those things melded into a leader. I think I call myself a leader because I stand up for putting some advice out there, based on life experience, not preaching at people, just telling people, hey, this is what I did wrong. And if you're on that same path, I think I can help you. If not, here's another story for you to hear to add uh, to your library, and maybe it'll help you out one day. And so, my leadership and what I do here is just based out of love for others. It's based out of wanting to be that person that helps. I've discovered in recent years that there's a high level of servant leadership inside of me. And so I want to be true to that. And I think there's a responsibility in putting that out there when you've had these kind of experiences. And so in these last couple of years, as I've gotten to know a lot of my colleagues in the speaking world, um, I realized that there was a need for this type of coaching, this type of leadership coaching. And quite a few colleagues pushed me into doing this. My buddy, Mark Cordone, had asked me recently to coach on the Joy Revolution with him, and I'm having such a blast doing that. And I think we're making some big change. Um, and late last year is when the idea for the leadership experience came about. And so what the leadership experience is a coaching masterclass that I've put together. Our first cohort is going to be starting next week. It's going to be week 1. So this is a 6-week long coaching masterclass on unconventional leadership. So basically the core curriculum of this coaching masterclass um, discovers it basically explores the leadership principles and self-discovery journey, along with designing something that we call your mission statement. um, 6-week course. I'll get into the details later of how this all works, but we cover such a range of topics in leadership, and the goal is really for you to discover, hey, I may not have thought I was a leader when this started, but guess what? There are other leaders out there that have had really unconventional journeys. And once they arrived at this point where they became leaders, you look at them and go, hey, I can do that. And so that's what we're trying to do here. That's really what I try and do with everything I put out there. Even my podcast, the Launchcast, That's all we do. We interview leaders on their unconventional leadership journey so that our audience can look at it and say, hey, I can do that, you know. So let's talk about leadership for a little bit, and maybe we'll go around the room to sort of help the group out that's watching on the replay later. Unconventional leadership to me is a fluid concept. Okay, I don't know if there's one definition for leadership. We are 18 episodes into the Launchcast, my leadership podcast, and the first question I ask each guest is, are you a leader, and what is your definition of a leader? And 18 guests have given me 18 different definitions, which is incredible. So I'll actually start with Tanya. Let me unmute her. Okay, Tanya, talk to me about leadership and what it means to you.
Well, I should have shared a little bit about myself before we started. I'm retired from the Army, 24 years.
Amazing.
So that kind of gives you some indicator of my exposure to leadership. I also have a master's in organizational leadership and working on my doctorate now in organizational leadership.
Oh,
So
amazing. Amazing. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Proud to have served. I also own my own leadership development consulting company. And for me, why I'm on today is because sometimes I need to take a knee from leading others and work on refining my skills. So that's what this is for. This is more for me on something that I might be missing. But getting back to your question, thanks for asking me. Leadership to me is someone who can actually influence those who have the desire to find that untapped potential and take them on that journey to their desired future self.
Amazing. Amazing. And I want to make a note there. One of the things that I've discovered over the years in terms of leadership is that leading alongside others is best practice in leadership, not leading in front of them. There are times in life where situations are so bold and so scary that you do have to be the sole person standing up in front of a group, but that's up to the group, not you. As long as you stand up and you're willing to stand alongside other leaders, I think that's so important in the growth of a leader. So I applaud you for doing this. I just had a conversation with one of my buddies last week about how incredible it is when leaders can stand behind other leaders and really listen. You know, become. I'm a forever learner, and so there are people out there that I look at as mentors, and I am 150% willing to just become the student because of how amazing I think their leadership is. And I've had times recently where those same leaders turned around and said, hey, I would love to, you know, take a note from you on this and let you lead and teach me about something. And so I think that's so incredible. And I strive to do that same thing, Tanya. So thank you for that.
Thanks. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Keith, talk to me, buddy.
Hey guys, and thanks Tanya for your service and being so humble and continuing to do work. I think that's a big part of leadership, is knowing that you don't have all the answers and that you have to constantly be growing and leading by example. So if you want your people to be getting better, you've got to continue to be getting better. So you know, I'm as far as leadership goes, I feel like you know, it's you lead with passion and strong values, and by setting good examples for your people, and not telling people what to do, but showing them.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, I fully agree with that. Fully agree with that. And so I want to take that um uh, sorry, I'm just muting everybody. I want to take that and basically move forward in the conversation. And so when we have a firm understanding on what leadership means to us, I think that's one of the biggest steps in moving forward with your leadership. Now, what does leadership means to me? Leadership to me And I've said this a number of times on my podcast. Leadership to me is the ability to stand up and say, "I'll do it." Now, whether you're doing it with a group, whatever it is you're doing, or doing it by yourself, I think that's up to the situation. But that ability to just stand up, have the confidence and the courage, really, to stand up in a situation as small or large as that situation is. And I think I think there's a misnomer attached to leadership when it comes to the gravity of the situation you're standing up in. It doesn't matter if you are doing what Tanya did and spent 20 something years in the armed forces protecting our country, or standing up to a bully in front of your friend. I think there are so many levels of leadership that we need to understand, that we need to start somewhere. One of the things that I've discovered over the years, and especially now in working with speakers, when I first hosted my TEDx Farmingdale event, and I had some brand new speakers on there that were scared to death to get up there. I had a couple of speakers that really thought, based in comparison to some of the other topics that were being spoken about, that what they had to say on stage was just not important. And so it couldn't be further from the truth, because I explained to these people that, hey, your talk, your topic, your idea to change the world, it's just as important as anybody else's, whether it's a massive crisis we're going through, or a tiny little speck of an idea that may make this world better. That's leadership. And so I think people need to understand that in order to continue to change the world and to build leadership, I think people need to understand that everybody that feels a certain type of way about something, that something is important enough to stand up, they need to stand up. And what I want to get into a little bit is the responsibility of leadership. I have spoken about this in so many different ways, because of the different types of areas that I work in. Now, on the consulting side with my core business, of course, I deal with business owners, C-level executives, and I've been coaching people like that for years. And so for a C-level executive of a company with a few hundred employees, to get a person like that to stand up in a way that they can lead an organization through compassion, through empathy, through drive, um, through proper culture. I think it's so important for somebody that has that ability to stand up and lead within an organization. Now, when we talk about speakers, writers who are standing up to share their ideas with the world, this is an experience that you went through. This is how I started what I'm doing right now. I was a shitty person for a long time, right? And that guy just didn't care about anything but himself and money. And so when I realized how horrible that was and what a waste of space I was on this planet, and now I had been enlightened, and Keith, you and I have talked about being enlightened in the past. Now I've been enlightened to the point where I can sort of understand how telling this story may help others. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Of course I'm going to do it. That's a responsibility. I lead now not only my family, but my employees, my speakers, my colleagues, my community. I'm a community leader, a nonprofit leader. There are so many people that could be influenced by what I do. Even just a thought leader on social media, as most of us are here, who are, speakers or business owners or whatever it is. We share our thought leadership on social media. And so there is a responsibility that goes with that. If you have a stage of any kind where there is even one person that can turn around and say, hey, I think your advice may be useful to my life, and you have some sort of sway over how they're going to operate going forward, you damn right you have the responsibility to share something positive and real and authentic, and not just go in selling your product, selling your ideals. This is a responsibility. And so for those of you that are interested in joining the leadership experience, that are watching this on the replay, I'll tell you right now, I don't want you here if you are here for any other purpose than authentic leadership and to help people. I don't need your money. That's not what this is about. This is about building leaders. I am at the point in my career where, yeah, I can be picky with who I work with. And this was the goal all along, is to make sure that the people that I work with and I'm sharing my experiences with, I didn't go through these experiences for years and suffer for years to now turn around and give these tools to somebody that's going to do the same kind of stuff I did with them years ago. That's not what this is about. Right. So if you're interested in this, make sure that you are here for the right purposes and then contact me and then we could talk about how to move forward. That responsibility to me is so key. So we talked about responsibility. We talked about unconventional leadership. I came up with this great, when I was thinking about the leadership. Actually, this was when we did our first workshop. We did 2 live workshops in my event space in my office, way back months ago, before we were locked in our houses. I did these 2 workshops, and I wanted a really kitschy catchphrase, to really tell people, and give people the vibe of what I thought they could do. And when I thought about that, I'm thinking of where do they want to be versus where they are now. And so the thought was they might just be at home living a regular life, um, where they may not realize that they're already putting out some leadership, or they may not realize the potential they have to put out leadership going forward. And so this catchphrase was that leadership starts in the living room, not in the boardroom. I wanted people to understand that leadership is not just for CEOs. It's not just for, public officials. It's for everybody. And guess what? If everybody showed more leadership, maybe we wouldn't have to push so hard to change the way things are where we live. Maybe we wouldn't complain so much about the leaders that are leading us now if we would just stand up and become those leaders ourselves, right? And take their places. Yeah, Keith, talk to me.
I just can't think, but there's just so many opportunities to lead. And you make such a great point that leadership doesn't need to be, you don't need to be like a CEO of a big company to be a leader, right? And like right now with everything that's going on with COVID, like there's so many opportunities for you to be a leader in your community, whether it's just, I go running out here on Bayshore. I'm in Tampa, Florida, and you have the opportunity to look at somebody, give them a wave, and respect that 6 to 10 feet, and really go out of your way to, make some space. So, like this opportunity with this crisis, there's so many opportunities to be a leader, and it doesn't have to be something like, to be a big CEO. You can lead, like you said, from the living room in your home, in the community, just based on, you know, making actions based on virtue and just doing what's right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that you pointed that out, because right now, guys, we are in a strange time. Tanya and I were talking about this when we hopped on. Um, Man, it's just so weird out there right now. It really is. Even yesterday, I'll share a personal story for those that haven't heard it here. But um, my wife and I are expecting late August, my third child. Um, but my first 2 kids were from my first marriage, and so this is my wife's first child coming up now on August 25th, or around there. And yesterday we had a pretty important appointment. We had our 20-week sonogram at the obstetrician, and I had to sit in my truck outside of the doctor's office. I was not allowed to come in, and I had to FaceTime with my wife during this appointment. Now I've been through this twice before, but man, it's still hurt, and I can't imagine how she felt. This is her first time having a child. It's scary, and when there's stuff that the doctor's got to tell you that's a little more serious, that's a point where I'm like, I need to be inside right now, you know. And so it's a strange time, but it's how we take these experiences and how we move forward that dictates what kind of people we are, what kind of leaders we are. I look around right now and I'm seeing the most amazing stuff happening. People that are stuck home that might just have some extra fabric, they're whipping out their 20-year-old sewing machines and sewing masks for others. I had a buddy that works in the event industry that honestly, whose industry is devastated by what's going on right now. Devastated. Every single um, revenue source that he had coming in terms of parties coming up, events coming up, big corporate events that he handles, were all canceled. Devastated, right? And I've been in close contact with him. And what happens? This guy turns around based on a Facebook post that I had seen from our mutual friend who's a doctor, whose husband was building these intubation barrier boxes, and she was asking for a little advice. I shared him on it because I knew that with the kind of materials they fabricate stuff for their parties, he may be able to help. Bing, bang, boom. What happens? This guy winds up bringing in his staff. They built 25 of these intubation boxes. People started donating to help with the cost of these. They wound up getting these to Montefiore Hospital, to another hospital, and now they started a GoFundMe to fund the build for more of these, and they're able to get these. Doctors are able to get these when they're intubating patients to block and just put their hands in and not be exposed to COVID-19. And I think that's incredible. That's goddamn leadership. That's how you do it. You know what I mean? In times of struggle, when you make it not about yourself anymore and you stand up because you have a specific skill set, that's what we're trying to do here. That's what we're trying to do here. And I think we can all understand that at certain times in our lives. What I'm trying to do with the leadership experience is bring out that drive, bring out that sense of responsibility, bring out that skill set, and bring them all together in order to build something incredible in this world. And so, because this is an orientation, I want to tell you guys a little bit about what we're doing with the leadership experience, what it's about, allow for any questions. I'm happy we have a couple of people here, but I know we're building a small cohort for this go around. I know there's about 20 people that are hopping on here for the replay later who are super interested. So we'll talk about this for a minute. So the leadership experience, first of all, the website is theleadershipexp.com. Okay. A coaching masterclass, intentional, unconventional, thoughtful leadership from me. Okay. I have built a 6-week curriculum. So this is how this whole class works. There is a core curriculum. Okay. And in this core curriculum, we have 6 weeks worth of guidance, and the deliverable here is a 5-week long project that we're going to be working on. And so I'm going to break down the weeks real quick. And this isn't a sales pitch, guys. I wanted to be able to do an orientation for those that are interested in this, that didn't really get all this information from the website. But at the same time, you have to read into this curriculum a little bit, because these are steps that I take in terms of looking at leadership. So you can really take this breakdown and apply it to what your leadership and what you're trying to do, if you're a person that's just here for the workshop and not interested in joining. And so the 6 weeks, week 1 is unconventional leadership. Similar to today, it's just going to be a conversation. And by the way, guys, I don't teach. I'm not a professional teacher. Keith is a teacher. I'm not a professional teacher. I am a person that is a storyteller. And so I think I have a knack for drawing parallels to the subject matter by telling my experience and my stories. And so that is the format this is going to be. So if taking a class is something that scares you, taking a class while you're living the rest of your life and are busy, if that's something that scares you, I think you need to open yourself up to at least check out what week 1 is about. Because again, we announced this, but week 1 is going to be open to anybody that is interested, you have to contact me first and I'll set you up, but you're going to get week 1 free to try this out if you're interested. And then you can jump in after the fact. Okay. So week 1, unconventional leadership. Much like today, we're going to be storytelling. We're going to be telling our stories. Everybody in the cohort is going to be discussing what they've gone through, their experiences, and what their goal is, their ultimate goal for their leadership. Week 2 is called the mission statement. This is where we really get serious. So the mission statement is not only the week 2 class, it is our cohort long project. So from week 2 until week 5, we are going to be writing our mission statements. Okay. And so I'll bring this out here. I have talked about this in a few talks. I talk about this in my, on my podcast, but if you haven't checked this out, and I'll post a link to this, I'll include it when I reshare this Zoom for the replay. Excuse me. I talk about this in my Speakers Who Dare talk that I did in 2019 called Not Just for Profit. So if you look up on YouTube, George Andriopoulos, Not Just for Profit, or George Andriopoulos Speakers Who Dare, you'll see that talk there. And so the talk is about my leadership. It's about my journey from being a greedy, and I say it in the talk, shithead, from being a greedy person that was only interested in himself and money, and all the stuff that doesn't matter so much to me right now, to being a person that has turned it around, built not only a life, but a foundation here with my businesses that can really affect some change. And so it's a talk where I discussed my idea on how to shift the way we look at business from a governmental and financial standpoint, from an IRS standpoint, in order to promote corporate giving in a completely unique way. Now, that's one of my my promises that I've made to myself in my leadership that I want to work towards getting implemented. But what I talk about in there is this spark moment in my life a few years ago where I sat down to write for no apparent reason, and I wrote this. Very short manuscript. You might recognize the cover from the movie Jerry Maguire if you've seen it, with Tom Cruise and Cuba Gooding Jr. It's called The Things We Think and Do Not Say. This is my mission statement. Yes, I ripped this off from the movie Jerry Maguire, which is one of my favorites, but there's a point to it. This is a mission statement where I wrote down all my thoughts. And by the way, it's the things we think and do not say, the future of our business. What I talk about is my growth. I talk about my thoughts on what's going on in business in the world today, how my leadership, I think, can make some kind of small change, and what I think we should do in order to shift to a different mindset. It is basically a roadmap for what I want to do with my leadership throughout my life. And so that is what we are going to be doing as a cohort together. We are going to write our version of the things we think and do not say. Each one of us will find our drive, will find our mission statement, and we are going to be writing about it together, talking about how to not only write it, but how to execute it. Okay. And so that's going to be the theme of week 2. Week 3 is leadership theory. This is where we take theory from incredible leaders out there, leaders in civil rights, leaders in the business world, leaders in every kind of arena that you can imagine, some that you would never think that we would talk about. And so we're going to be talking about the theory behind their leadership, how they led, some of them, by the way, in a negative way. And we have to look at that in order to understand where not to go with our leadership, right? We need to look at a person like Adolf Hitler and look to see how he came about leading a large number of people to create one of the worst time periods in our history, right? And so we're going to be discussing that in leadership theory. Next week is the 4th week is inspiration theory. Now, this is how we take our mission statement. This is how we take our leadership theories, and we then inspire an audience in order to lead them, in order to build a followership, in order to build more leaders, inspire more leaders to step up alongside you, to walk with you. And so that's what that week is about. Week 5 is where everything comes together. Week 5 is called the balance phenomenon. This is one of my favorite things. This is something that I discovered in recent years. This is where, during my own journey, I took things step by step. Like I said, I had to restart with nothing. I first focused on just being a father, being the best father I could be. Then I focused on a relationship with my partner. Then I focused on my interpersonal relationships with others. And suddenly I felt good. That's when I brought work back into the fray. Work was so important to me, a little scary because it was the thing that turned me into that person that I didn't like. And so I wanted to start it the right way. Then once everything was firing on all cylinders, and I found these other things, the public speaking, the writing, the podcasting, the nonprofit stuff, all of these different areas that make up my leadership, I found myself fragmented, found myself compartmentalized, found myself where I was leading a triple and quadruple life, where I had to run home to coach my kids' teams and run to the field trips with them, and then go and run my business, and then go and speak on this stage and take time away from my business, and then go take time away from everything by volunteering at all the nonprofit stuff I do. And I found myself being pulled in a million directions because I never tied them all together. That was sort of this last step that I realized was so important, that the leader does not have to stand over there while the man is inside the house as, you know, who you're supposed to be in terms of your natural persona outside of the professional world. I found that all of that can be combined into one person, that this is who I am. And so we talk during the balance phenomenon week about how to tie together all of those different areas of your life and balance them in the way that you're not having to take time away from one area of your life to be a leader in another. We talk about how to balance all these areas and how that is the final key. I use this analogy so much on my podcast, but this is where Luke understood the Force in Star Wars. This is where Neo understood the Matrix, right? This is where that moment where it clicked and it was like, okay, right? And then all of a sudden I can see clearly now comes on in the background and you're like, I get it. I understand everything, right? And so that's the balance phenomenon week, where we wrap up how to tie this in. Now, that's the final week where you guys are wrapping up your mission statements. And then we move on to the last stand. So the last week is the last stand. This is implementation week. This is where we go forward and we talk about how we're going to implement this going forward in our lives. And we make our declarations and our promises to ourselves that we're going to be doing that. Now, that's the core curriculum. Outside of the core curriculum, there are the add-on tracks. Now, the add-on tracks are and somebody that's looking how to build this course, this is built. You can take just the core curriculum with this, absolutely no problem. This is not built for just the core curriculum, FYI. This is built for you to take the core curriculum plus one add-on track. You can take two. There are other courses like Keith is in the Joy Revolution with Mark and I. That one is really built for the VIP package, where you're you could take either add-on course, but taking both add-ons is really the best way to go about it, the writing and speaking track. This one is really built for you to take one. I don't want to overwhelm people, and so I'll talk about how to get onto a second one. But the three add-on tracks, there is the entrepreneur leader track, the public thought leader track, and the career leader track. What do they each do? The entrepreneur track. This one is for business owners. This one is for C-level executives. This one is for aspiring entrepreneurs. Okay. It's the full benefit of the core masterclass plus the entrepreneurship leader track. apply your leadership skills to your business and bring purpose to your company's mission. Okay. So it's applying leadership theory and inspiration theory to your work culture, design a leadership model within your business that relates to your staff and company messaging, sales authenticity training. There's so much of leadership that's involved in entrepreneurship, right? And we're going to talk about how these are all laid out in a minute. The second track, which is, it's no secret, this one is my favorite here. This is the public thought leader track. This is for, again, the full benefits of the core masterclass plus the public thought leader track. This is for public speakers, writers, community leaders, thought leadership influencers, right? Activists, nonprofit leaders. This is for you guys. And so we're going to be paralleling your mission statement from the manuscript that you write to an executable platform, whether it's your talk, your book, your article, your social content. Thought leadership, branding, and messaging training. Application process for speakers and writers we're going to talk about. There's a publishing workshop along with that. There's leadership goal setting within your thought leadership, and then there's servant leadership as a thought leader training. Okay, so this is basically going to be a mini course for speakers, writers, social influencers, and activists on how to apply your mission statement to what you do. And it will lead into the opportunity to do more with that, because we'll have follow-up courses for this class. And then the last one, which is the career leader training. This is for the person that doesn't want to be a public speaker or writer, doesn't want to be a business owner. They are in a career. They are happy as being in their career, but they want more. And so again, it's the core leadership track plus the career leadership track, which is about career advancement. Okay. Take your newfound leadership to your job and storm the castle of mediocrity. So you parallel your mission statement to your career trajectory plan, leadership in the workplace theory, professional branding workshop, including resume training and interview training. Mistake equals practice, the journey to improvement. So this is a big workshop in there. And so how do these work? 6-week course. Every week we're having a live 60-minute Zoom class. Okay. It's built where it's better live, but absolutely they're built for the replay if we can't make the time that we have. There is going to be additional video content and resources that are part of the lesson guides. And so every week there'll be a lesson that comes out. We're going to give more resources, some mini projects along with the big project. Each track will have 3 live classes. Depending on the size of the cohort, they may be group, they may be one-on-one. There will be one-on-one opportunities for both the core curriculum and the add-on tracks. And so you will get one-on-ones with me, mini one-on-one sessions. And again, that deliverable is going to be the mission statement for the core class. And then, of course, how you execute that on your platform when you take an add-on track. And so right now, anybody that has joined this, if they're interested, just shoot me a message. We will set you up for a free week 1 to jump on with the rest of our cohort, so you can see what this is going to be about. You can see all the costs on the website itself, theleadershipexp.com. And again, this is built for the core plus 1 add-on, although you can take just the core if that's all you're interested in. I want to talk real quick just about the affiliate program. If you have watched this, it's not the right time for you, or you're not interested, but you think that there is somebody that you know that would be interested. We haven't built an official affiliate program in terms of getting you registered with a code and everything like that. But basically what'll happen is if you refer somebody to us and let us know that, there is going to be a 25% affiliate fee that's paid to you once they are paid up and set. And so there also will be an online platform with this, by the way, so that everything is set up right in your Leadership EXP website account, and you follow your lessons along with that. And that's pretty much it. And then, of course, you can private message me on Facebook if you have me, George Andriopoulos, or my public figure account is at Launchpad CEO on all platforms. My email address, ga@launchpad516.com. And that's pretty much it. So I want to see if does anybody have any questions right now on it?
George, I think this sounds like a very good course. I think it's great for two target audiences. One, for transitioning service members. I'm always working with them to help them focus on a pre-transition retirement plan. So I really like this idea, and I'm trying to figure out. I just inboxed you in the chat on a way that I can do a short excerpt and share it with members of my fellow battles to give them some insight. I think that being able to find as many resources as they can to help them transition sets them up for success. We have a lot of organizations that help once they transition, but I think once we leave and you're trying to find yourself, it makes that transition a little more difficult. So I like the way you starting this course with creating the mission statement. Well, of course, after we go through the introductory session, but that whole mission. And I think that that will really help them with re-identifying and reinventing, rebranding who they're going to be once they transition out, because they'll no longer be sergeant, captain.
Sure.
Yeah. So I like your concept. So thanks. Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah. And I'll send you a private message now with my with all my info so we can either hop on a call or whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Keith, anything from you, buddy?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I've been working with George with the Joy Revolution, and that's why I'm here now, just to hear this. I'm not looking to sign up for anything else because I'm fully committed, but I will say that I've thoroughly enjoyed working with George thus far, hence why I'm here, just to listen to his talk. So if anybody out there's thinking about it, just do it, man. You guys good. So there's
Thank you, buddy.
there's my plug. And this George did not ask me to be here, by the way. So
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
appreciate you, man.
All right, guys. I appreciate this. Tanya, I just sent you my info. So, reach out and let's talk. And guys, I appreciate everyone being here. Those catching this on the replay, again, theleadershipexp.com to register. You can PM me at Launchpad CEO on any social platform. DM me, PM me, whatever they call it now. GA at launchpad516.com if you want to email me. And let's go. I'm excited for this. Thanks, guys.